Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Recovery Room podcast. I am your healing agent, Trey Kearney. The Recovery Room podcast is a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted. I'm going to say that again. The Recovery Room podcast is a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted. So if you've ever been betrayed or you've ever been brokenhearted, you're in the right place. You are now in the recovery room. And the question that I must ask you right now before we even get started is so important. As you go through this journey of healing with me, who's outside of the recovery room? And I ask that question because it is so important on your journey of healing. As we go through this journey of healing, there are going to have to be some people, places, and things that you decide to let go of, or you will never have the ability to heal, or you will never have the chance to heal because you cannot heal in the same environment that is making you sick. You cannot heal around the same people who are causing you anxiety, stress, and depression. And I know it's hard because we've had friends since we was 9, and we've had people in our family. Well, we didn't choose our family. God chose our family for us. And sometimes we need a season of separation from our family and from our friends in order for us to begin the healing process to even get to the recovery room. So I'm your heart surgeon. And I mean, figuratively, I'm your heart surgeon, not literally. I'm saying we are going to do some work on your heart. We are going to deal with some matters of the heart. And tonight we are going to talk about forgive yourself for what you didn't know. Now I want you guys to get a pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to take notes. And I want you to understand that the person that you really need to forgive is the person that you look at in the mirror every day. In order to be able to heal, in order to be able to forgive other people, you must first forgive yourself for what you allowed. You must first forgive yourself for the things that you caused. Okay, we've caused some things in our lives, and we must forgive ourselves for, again, what we didn't know. So let's get started tonight. Again, if you just tuned in, my name is Trey Kearney. I'm your healing agent. I cannot heal you, so you are here to begin the journey of healing. The only person who can heal you is God, but I am your Neosporin. He is your healer. I'm your Neosporin. He sent me here to help you to begin the healing process, to walk you through the healing process. Have you ever been betrayed? Raise your hand if you've ever been betrayed. I might have to raise a foot. Say yes, hallelujah, and amen. If you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever had your heart broken. A lot of us have been betrayed years and years and years ago. A lot of us have been heartbroken years and years and years ago, and we never took the time to heal. We just move through life. We just moving through life. We're not healing. We're taking our wounds and our baggage, and we're bleeding on people who didn't cut us, and we're not realizing the reason why we're doing this is because we never forgave our high school sweetheart. We never forgave our first love. We never forgave our first child's father who didn't know what he was doing. So this is for the first child's father. Forgive yourself for not being a great dad if you didn't know. I'm going to say this to you too at the beginning of this. So I have my electronic notebook so I don't have a whole bunch of paper anymore. But I'm going to say this to you before you begin. Before we begin, I always talk about the blueprint, right? I always ask people, like, I'm always curious to know, what was your blueprint? Because that's where we have to start. And when I mean your blueprint, I ask, how did you grow up? What was your, because a lot of us have faulty blueprints. You know, when you have a blueprint to build a house, if there's any piece of the house, if there's any piece of material that is missing, if those specs and those drawings are wrong, the house is going to be built on a faulty foundation. If the specs are wrong, if there is a screw missing, if there is a piece of wood missing, if there is something missing, the house will be built on faulty grounds, and eventually it will fall, or you will have to tear it down and start a new foundation and rebuild. And that's where we are right now. We are starting a new foundation. We tearing the whole thing down. We're going to tear this mother down right now. And this is the journey that I had to take in my life because I had a faulty blueprint. Again, most of us grew up in dysfunction, and we thought that dysfunction was normal. We talked about that in episode 1. Dysfunction is not normal. So how can you be something, or how can you do something if you've never saw it, or if no one ever taught you how to do it? When we go to a job, what do? As soon as we walk in that corporation, as soon as we walk in that job, as soon as we walk in Walmart, as soon as we walk in ShopRite, as soon as we walk in the yoga instructor, what do? They train us. They train us. We haven't been trained for life. We were not given the proper life skills. Many of us, and I'm not even talking about those of us who just grew up in the hood or those who grew up in less fortunate areas. I'm talking about the majority of us based on the parents that we had. And I'm talking about Generation X, right? Because we had parents who did not have the resources that we have now. So I was able to forgive my mother long before I could forgive myself for some of the things that I've done, because I know my mother's blueprint was faulty, because her mother didn't know how to be a mother, and her mother probably didn't know how to be a mother. And remember, we come from slaves. So our ancestors were feeding the others babies while their kids were at home raising themselves, while their kids were at home not eating. So we come from a long line of faulty blueprints. So now is the time for us. Some of our houses just got to tear it down because it's leaning to the left, it's leaning to the right, the boiler keep breaking, the roof is leaking. We just need to start all over again. So again, I say to you, if the foundation, the blueprint was faulty, the house will eventually either fall or you'll have to tear it down to rebuild. So you don't know how to do something. This is a perfect segue into the first thing that I had to forgive myself for. You can't be something if you've never saw it modeled, right? So many of us, and check this out, and write this down, and marinate on it, and understand, like, this is real talk, because I'm a real talk person. If you know me, I'm a real talk person. You know me, I'm transparent, and I will tell you some stuff, and people be looking at me like, what? I can't believe she said that. The reason why I can be transparent is because I'm not in that space anymore, and I'm not that person anymore, and I'm not living that life anymore. When we're hiding things, it's because we're still doing it, and we're only as sick as our secrets. Remember, we're only as sick as our secrets. So the first thing I had to learn how to be was a human being. I know that sounds strange to some of y'all, but I didn't even know how to be a human being, because in my life of coming from a place of dysfunction, from a mother who had alcohol and drug issues, from a single parent home, my dad and my mother got a divorce. There were so many things that happened before I could even learn how to be a human being. And I give my mother kudos, and I love my mother. And this is by no means to tear her down, or my father, but I was never taught how to be a human being. And the majority of us were taught how to be human doings. So all of our life, we just been doing just to survive, doing stuff, not knowing how to just be. So if we're doing everything and we don't have the life skills that we need to make the right decisions, if we don't have the decision-making life skill, forgive yourself for what you didn't know. This is the point of this podcast tonight. This episode is simply forgive yourself for what you didn't know. Forgive yourself for not knowing how to be a human being for so many years and just being a human doing. Most of us were doing for everybody else to keep from being a human being and just stopping and learning who we are. Or most of us didn't have the opportunity to even do that. A lot of us had to start working at 13 years old. A lot of us had to start working straight out of high school. A lot of us didn't get the loving and the nurturing that we needed to be a human being. So we were busy being human doings to try to get the love and affection that we wanted from somebody, to try to get the attention that we wanted from somebody. My mom had 5 kids. And and when I say she was an unfit mother, I don't mean she was an unfit mother by beating us and doing things like that. She wasn't fit. She wasn't taught. So I was an unfit mother when I came into motherhood too. I didn't know how to be no mother. I'm just figuring this thing out. There is no handbook for being a human being, but I'm gonna tell you this: what helped me to be a human being instead of a human doing was the Bible. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." So when we come from a faulty foundation, we have to go and find a solid foundation. And for me, I'm not trying to push religion on anybody or tell you what it is, but you need to find something solid. And the word of God for me never changes. So I can have that rock under my feet to know when I go to the book, When I go to the book, I can stand on what it says and know that it is truth. It tells me, it tells me how to be a human, to have integrity. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not sleep with somebody's husband. Y'all know I got here by way of committing adultery. My platform started by way of committing adultery. If you don't know how my platform got started, my platform got started by way of committing adultery and me going on a journey of dismantling the home. I'm talking about this home, the blueprint, the faulty foundation, and going to find out, why do I think these things are normal? Why do I think these things? Why would I think that it's okay to cheat on my husband? Why would I think it's okay to stay out all times of the night, being a married woman? But the foundation was faulty. The blueprint that I was following was not the proper blueprint. There was some screws missing, right? So when you look at a blueprint, if the blueprint is not right, the thing will not be built right. So I had to go back and find myself on this journey and release the things that I've learned. I released the bad things, because I want us to get this part too. I had to release the bad things that I learned from my mother and my aunties and my family. And I had to embrace the good things that I got from them, because we don't want to let go of our DNA. We don't want to let go of the good things that we learned from our parents, because they did the best that they could do. So the first thing I want you to forgive yourself for is for simply not knowing how to be a human being. Forgive yourself for what you didn't know. What do you need to forgive yourself for? What do you need to forgive yourself for? I want you to write that down. If you have a journal, please journal. Journaling is a wonderful tool to help you get things out that maybe you don't want to tell anybody else. I'm here on my platform because I am transparent. I'm an open book, because I went and did a lot of work on myself to figure out why I did the things that I did. And I don't have no problem saying to another person, I'm not judging you. I used to be you. I'm never judging anybody for anything that they're doing, because I can't imagine that all of us have not done something that we are not proud of. I can't imagine that all of us have learned some things that seem normal to us because it's all we knew, because it's all we saw. If you saw, again, we talked about this the last episode, that dysfunction is not normal. If you saw your father beating up your mother as a young boy and your mother stayed there, come on now, we have to dismantle these things. We have to give truth to these things. If you were in a home like I was in a home, and it was domestic violence and people were hitting each other and people stayed with each other, it sent a message of, this is okay. This is how people act. And I'm gonna say Black people because I'm Black, but this is how Black people act. Black people hit each other. Black people yell at each other. So if the foundation is faulty, you're going to operate the same way until you go get the help that you need. But you have to. God is not going to hold you accountable for something that you didn't know, right? We don't beat our children or spank our children or punish our children or discipline our children harshly for something they didn't know. The first time around when they didn't know, we're like, oh, don't do that. The stove is you're going to burn your hand, or whatever the thing may be. But when they don't know, we like, well, you didn't know, so I'm not going to punish you for that. But once you know better, you do better, right? Once you know better, you do better. So again, forgive yourself for not knowing how to be a human being based on the dysfunction that you grew up in. Every person on here, I have to say probably at least 98% of us grew up in some sort of dysfunction. And if you think that you didn't, then you just haven't really looked around at your home, because everybody has a level of dysfunction. And all of us have grown up in dysfunction in some sort of way. Maybe your mother wasn't an alcoholic. Maybe she was, depressed, or maybe she was, allowed your father to beat on you. So if you were a young man and you saw your dad beating on your mother, and your mother stayed, and your mother laid next to that man that night, and your mother loved on him, and your mother cooked him breakfast in the morning, you don't think that beating a woman is not normal. So when you get in relationships with women, you hit women until the woman leaves you, and then you're like, well, my mother stayed, so what's up with this chick? Do y'all understand? Do you get what I'm saying? because this person grew up in another environment where men didn't hit women. So for the brothers on here who have hit a woman, and by no way means or am I excusing anybody's poor behavior for beating on a woman, but I'm saying to you, brother, if you're not doing it anymore, I need you to forgive yourself for what you didn't know. That's Forgive yourself for what you didn't know. If you are working on yourself and you went and got the help that you needed, because we see things in social media and in media where they were talking about how Dr. Dre had hit the young lady, I forgot her name, D Williams or something, but how Dr. Dre had hit this woman in his younger years. Dr. Dre grew up in Compton in the hood where men hit women. So still 50 years now, 40 years later, now that this man is a grown man, he's got a wife and kids and he's changed his ways. And these people are still trying to crucify him. I want the brothers on here who have changed their ways and who are no longer hitting women, who understand that it's wrong to hit a woman. It's wrong to hit anybody. Y'all do get that, right? But anyway, it's wrong to hit a woman, and you grew up in that, and you saw that. You saw your uncles beat their wives or girlfriends. You saw your grandfather. You saw your father. So you thought that was normal, and now you understand that it's not, and you did the work, and you don't hit women anymore. I really want you to forgive yourself for what you did not know. Any woman on here who has I'm gonna get to that next because I'm gonna go to the next point on what I had to forgive myself for, so that you can understand that the depth of the decisions and the mistakes that I made that caused turmoil and controversy in my home and in my life. But I had to own it. And we are all about accountability on the recovery room. I had to own those things and say, okay, now you didn't know that, but now you know, so now you have to do better. So the next thing I want to say is I had to forgive myself because I did not know how to be a wife. And I had to really come to terms with myself and say, God, because I was living in a bubble of guilt for a long, long time. Like I lived in guilt for a long time. Like I really beat myself up like on a daily basis to a point where I was functionally depressed, where I didn't think I deserved an abundant life that God had promised me, where I really just thought that everything that happened to me was that's what you get. That's what you get. But as went along my journey and I decided that you simply did not know how to be a wife because you never were in a home where there was a husband and a wife, where there was anybody who showed you anything on how it was to be a wife, a woman. And I had to let that go. So any woman on here who does not know how to be a wife, I just want you to understand, who did not know how to be a wife, or even if you're in a season of in a marriage right now and you never saw a healthy relationship, I want to just encourage you, one, to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made in your marriage, for what you don't know and what you didn't know. And then I want you to get around some healthy marriages. I want you to and their marriage is not going to be your marriage, but to be able to see people operate decent and in order to be able to see people loving on each other proper way, it will be healthy for you, because a lot of times we are hanging with our single friends and we shouldn't. A lot of times we're hanging with people who are still behaving the same way and we shouldn't. So let's just forgive ourselves. Again, the topic tonight, if you just tuned in, welcome to the Recovery Room. The Recovery Room is a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted. And we are here tonight and every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to forgive ourselves, to grow, to learn, to be able to recover from the things in life that knocked us down, knocked the wind out of us, the things that we had to have matters of the heart, had to operate on our hearts. And again, the most important question for you tonight is, who's outside the recovery room? You're going to have to change some people, places, and things that no longer serve you, whether it's family, whether it's friends. If they are not serving you in the proper way, you are going to have to remove yourself from the environment, remove yourself from that circle of friends. Anything that no longer serves you, is not allowing you to grow and be the best, highest version of yourself. You're going to have to remove yourself from that thing, or you'll never be able to forgive yourself for what you didn't know, because you'll still be doing the same things. So I didn't know how to be a wife. So a little bit about my backstory, and I'm very transparent because I know a lot of us have been through the same thing. I know a lot of us have dealt with the same things in the African American community because I talk to a lot of African American people who share their stories with me. So a lot of us know that back in the day, our parents didn't get divorces. They just moved on with their new boo or their new bae, and they had a wife on the other side of town. So they never completed the divorce process, but they considered themselves to be divorced or separated. They just left and never ever completely severed whatever it was. So we learned that along our journey that, hold on, people, we learned that along our journey that it was normal to, it was normal to be with somebody else's husband or wife. If you just left your husband or wife and you wasn't dabbling with both of them, right? You thought that, well, I'm not sleeping with my husband no more, and I'm not sleeping with my wife no more. So I've severed ties with them, so I get to move on. That's not normal. So forgive yourself for what you didn't know. Forgive yourself for not knowing that you're supposed to close one chapter or read the chapter before you go on to the next one, understand the chapter, and then read the book, close the book, and then move on. So, one thing I want you to forgive yourself for not knowing how to be a human being, and for so long you were a human doing. And the second thing I want you to forgive yourself for is for simply not knowing how to be a wife or a husband or a boyfriend. Let's talk about that really quickly, right? Some of us are punishing ourselves, right? Or being punished by folks who want to hold us to our past because we simply didn't know how to be a good girlfriend, how to be a good boyfriend, how to be a good baby daddy or child's father, because we were not prepared to be those things. So I want the fellas to forgive themselves for your high school sweetheart, the woman you was with that you had your first child with. I want the ladies to forgive themselves for the first marriage that they had and you wasn't a good wife and now you're a great wife with this husband, so you feel like you need to punish yourself. And to the fathers who are living their life now with a good wife and you have a whole family unit, but your child, your first child or your first two children are from your first marriage or your first relationship, so they're not in the house with you, so you carry around this guilt. I want you to forgive yourself for simply not knowing that you would not be with that child's mother or father, because women leave men too. And then we have these guilt trips because that relationship didn't last. That does not mean you divorced your children. That does not mean that you love your children any less. And I want the fellas to really understand this because I run into this problem with a lot of women, and maybe you don't see it because of exactly what I'm talking about right now. Forgiving yourself. Forgive yourself that you're not in the house physically with your children, because it trickles over into your other relationships with your new wife or your new girlfriend because you overcompensate for those children. And I'm not saying don't take care of your children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when your children come to your house with your new wife or your new girlfriend or your new boo or your new bae, whatever you call her or whatever, and you don't discipline your children, or you make the person who you're with feel kind of sort of left out or not able to discipline your children or walk around on eggshells, or you want to do something with your kids every time they come to your house. No, your kids are home. You are not play dad. You're their father. Unfortunately, you can't split your body in half and be in two places at one time. But you need to forgive yourself for the fact that you are not in the home with your children anymore because the relationship with their mother didn't work, and it's trickling into your new home and your new relationship. I know many men whose children are manipulative and make their father feel guilty, or mothers. Now mothers are not living in the homes. They make the other parent feel so guilty that this parent is overcompensating and is destroying the relationship that you have now with your new person. I just want you to have your eyes wide open. I just want you to hear that from me, that the person that you're with right now is not being mean to your kids. The person that you're with right now is not trying to take time away from your kids. The person that you're with is simply a person from the outside looking in saying, we're home. We're not going out this weekend because your kids are coming over. We don't go out on the weekends because you may have kids with your new person. And when it's not your weekend with your kids who don't live with you, y'all are just home. Go in your room. We ain't doing nothing. Ain't nobody going out. Or if the new person that you're with has children, and on the weekend that your kids ain't there, y'all just home. And then when your kids come, we got to go somewhere. We got to go out to eat. We got to go do this. No, they home. They got two homes now. And you need to understand that. And the way to get past that is to forgive yourself for not being in the house with your kids. I get it that if you could take them with you, you would, but you can't because they with their mother. So you got to forgive yourself so it's not trickling down into your life now. You are still a good father, even though you're not in the home with your kids. Forgive yourself because the relationship with their mother didn't work and it trickled down onto them. Kids are resilient and kids are manipulative. And if they see that guilt in you, they will play on that guilt and they will play you out and they will use you up and they will destroy every relationship that you have. And I don't want that to happen for the brothers. And I hear this all the time. I hope that was helpful to somebody. Get your notebooks out. You are now in the recovery room, a safe space to heal, a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted, and those of us who need to heal along this journey of life. I'm your healing agent, Trey Kearney. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at info@treykearney.com. You can also go to my website, www.treykearney.com. Not a shameless plug. I'm a certified life and relationship coach. I help families heal from the devastation of infidelity. I help families have a safe place to share. I help families create a safe environment, whether the parents are together or apart. So let's go to the third thing that I had to forgive myself for. And this is a big one. This is a really big one. And I know a lot of us can relate to this, men and women. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not knowing how to be a parent. I have to forgive myself for not knowing how to be a mother. I did the best that I could do. Wasn't no handbook. Trust me. And most of us were growing up with our children. And when I say growing up, I had my first son when I was 25 years old, but there was still a lot of growing for me to do. I still did not know who I was. I had not had no therapy, no coaching, no counselor, none of that stuff. I had came from a dysfunctional home. And even though I was 25 years old, I was growing up with my children. There were a lot of life lessons that I had to learn. And unfortunately, my boys were in my car of life and they hit every bump. They hit every every tree branch. They hit every dead end, every pothole, every which way I turned that car over when it flipped over and rolled in the dirt. They were in my car of life. So they went through all the bumps and bruises with me, not on purpose. Not that I wanted to do anything to my children, but I had to really make a conscious decision to forgive myself for not knowing how to be a mother, not understanding the devastation and the effects that I was causing my children unintentionally, that now I am actually dealing with the residue of that. But I still walk in a place of forgiveness, right? We ask God for redemption, right? God told me this. He said, I redeemed you a long time ago, right? Redemption happened on the cross. So the reason why you asking me for something and you don't know what it is, but the thing that you're asking me for is redemption, to restore you, right? And I've done that a long time ago, but I can't give you redemption if you don't forgive yourself. I can't restore you if you don't want to be restored. I gave you that a long time ago, but you're not allowing yourself to heal. You keep picking at the scabs of life. My word says that I forgive and I forget. I throw it into the sea of forgetfulness. Now you have to make a conscious decision. Each and every one of us have done things that we are not proud of. I don't know what your thing is, but I tell you what, listen here. I told my children, look at the Bible and read the 10 Commandments. And if you just live life by those 10 Commandments, I'm not even, I know y'all don't want to read the whole Bible. Print the 10 Commandments and post them on the wall. All of y'all. And if you just live, if you look at those 10 commandments, if you live by them, you will miss a whole lot of dead ends, potholes, dark nights, depression, and all. If you just live by the 10 commandments. And I want you to look at yourself right now. Sorry, guys. I want you to look at yourself right now. And I want you to think about the mistakes that you made. And I want you to understand that one of those mistakes is most likely one of the 10 commandments that it says, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not have any other gods before me, thou shalt not covet another man's wife. What are the other ones? I can't think of all of them right now. But when I tell you, out of the 10 commandments, I've probably done 9 of them along my journey of life. So again, I'm here to say to you, I'm not judging you. I used to be you. And still to this day, I promise you, I'm going to fall short of the mark. It won't be the 10 commandments because I'm clear on that. Okay. So the only thing I probably did not commit was thou shalt not commit murder. And I probably murdered some people's spirits with my mouth. I probably murdered some people's character with my mouth, right? So we are not here in a stance of judgment. We are here because we have to understand that it is vital to our existence to forgive ourselves for what we simply did not know. Life is a journey and every day is a lesson. And when you forgive yourself, life is a journey and every day is a blessing, because you're going to do things to people that they are going to have to forgive you for, and maybe they won't forgive you. So when people do things to you, you're going to have to forgive those people in order to get the forgiveness that you need. So I'm here to tell you, there is nothing that you've done on your journey that is unforgivable. But the person who has to do the forgiving is you. I don't care what you did to anybody. I don't care. I don't want you doing stuff to folks, but I don't care what you did to anybody in your past. If you have grown and you are remorseful and you have learned the lesson and you have apologized, you are forgiven. And if you have repented, if you are a Christian or whatever you believe, if you have repented sincerely, you are forgiven. Now you need to forgive yourself and stop beating yourself up for the things that you've done in the past. I am just here to tell you that the recovery room is a space for you to understand that it's not just you. You are not the only one who did it. I'm here to tell you tonight, the recovery room is a space for you to understand that you are not your biggest mistake. You are your better choices. I'm here to tell you that the recovery room is a space for all of us where we are sitting together. I want you to imagine this. We are sitting together in the recovery room with our stitches, our bandages, our sutures in our forehead, our trach in our throat. And I'm talking about not physically, I'm talking about in the spirit. I'm talking about, think about this. Imagine that we are all in the recovery room right now for things that we need to heal from that nobody gave us permission to heal from. I'm giving you permission tonight. I'm giving you permission today that whatever it is that you did, throw it in the sea of forgetfulness. Let it go. You are only as sick as your secret. Some of us are walking around here with bad kidneys and bad backs and high blood pressure and heart disease and migraine headaches and stiff joints because we are harboring unforgiveness for ourselves. Not other people. You know what harboring unforgiveness for ourselves is? Walking around with a ton of guilt on your back. Put it down. Put it down today. Forgive yourself for what you simply did not know. Heal thyself. Yes. Today is the day. When we come back to the recovery room next week, there will be something else that we will be talking about. But today is the day that we decide, say it out loud wherever you are. I forgive myself for what I simply did not know. I deserve the abundant life. I deserve goodness, I deserve grace, and I deserve mercy because I am not that person anymore. And anybody who decides to try to hold me in my past, that is exactly where I will leave them because they do not belong in my future. Anybody who is a constant reminder of what it wants to be a constant reminder of what it is I did so many years ago, anybody who wants to crucify me or persecute me or make me live where I no longer reside, I walk away from those people, places, and things that no longer serve me. It is my responsibility to take care of me. It is my responsibility to put me first. I am accountable for the things that I am letting go on in my life. I am accountable for holding on to things that I no longer do. I release them today and I forgive myself for anything that I've done in the past, and I know that I will have to forgive myself for the things that I'm going to do in the future. I will try to be the best, highest version of myself. And that's all I can do. But I will not beat up on myself anymore. I will not live in a prison of guilt. And I will not harbor unforgiveness for myself. I release me from the cage, from the bondage, from the pain of unforgiveness of myself. Say it out loud tonight and believe it, and say it until you believe it, and say it until it is true for you. I forgive myself for anything that I've done in the past, and I will love on me from this point on. And I will try my best not to hurt another person. But along this journey, this thing called life, I know that I will, but it will not be it will not be intentional because that is not the person that I am. I do not have a malicious bone in my body. And I know you don't have a malicious bone in your body. I know you didn't intentionally leave your baby's mama with the kids. It just didn't work out for y'all. I know you wasn't intentionally beating on that woman. You just needed to get the skills. You just needed to understand that dysfunction was not normal. I know you didn't intentionally set out to cheat on your husband or your wife. You just didn't know how to articulate that you were not getting the things that you needed in that marriage. And you saw your mother or your father move on with the next person and nobody got no divorces. I forgive myself for what it is that I simply did not know. You beat your kids and you beat them and people judged you. You didn't know how to be a parent. You was abused as a child. So you didn't think that beating your child with an extension cord was abusive. Let's just take a deep breath and understand that we've done some things because we simply didn't know. You didn't know that taking 52 shots and driving home drunk that you could kill somebody's loved one on the road. And if you did kill somebody's loved one on the road, I need you to forgive yourself. Whether you were in jail, whether you was in jail for 20 years, whether you was in jail for 15, whatever you was in jail for, and you have redeemed yourself, God redeemed you. It's time for you to redeem yourself. It's time for you to forgive yourself, let go of what you did in the past. As long as you're not doing it anymore, you are clean, white as snow. You are forgiven. You are washed. And you have to let it go. Don't let these people out here in their judgment. I don't care what nobody think about me. I don't care. Let me say this to you. And when I say that, I don't say that I'm going to go out here and be reckless because I don't care about what nobody thinks about me. I don't care about what nobody think about my past because I know I'm doing better in the present and I plan on doing better in the future. I don't care. I care about the people who are closest to me, who I know love me, who I know love me. That's who I care about because they have my best interest at heart. But the rest of these folks out here on social media and trying to live up to the standards of the hair, the eyelashes, the makeup, the car, the money, the you did this in the past, and I remember I don't care about them people. I want you to let all of that go because you deserve the best. And I need you to know right now, you are wholeheartedly forgiven by God if nobody told you. And today is the day that you forgive yourself. So I hope this was helpful to you. I'm here every Wednesday night. This is the Recovery Room Podcast. It is a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted to come and sit down and just chill and just heal. To just chill and to just heal. To take off, to stop picking the scab. You need to be with people who smack your hand when you get ready to pick the scab. You know what I'm saying? Some people help you pick the scab. Some people, who's outside of the recovery room? You know, when you come out the recovery room from the hospital, who's outside of the recovery room? If the wrong person pick you up from the recovery room, from rehab, you know where they're going to take you? They're going to take you right back to the crack house. Who's outside of the recovery room? Is somebody outside of the recovery room that's going to take your bandages off and nurture it, and they're going to rewrap the bandage? I got you, Trey. I got you. Let me put some Neosporin on it. Let me put the clean bandage on it. Is somebody outside the recovery room that's going to help you get out the car and make sure you don't hurt your broken ankle? Or is it somebody getting outside the recovery room like, that's what you get? That's what you get. Yeah, I'm not helping you. Get out the car yourself. Who's outside of the recovery room that is not willing to forgive you? You are responsible for your own well-being. You are responsible for your healing. People can't be in close proximity of you unless you allow them to be. You know who's supposed to be close to you. You know who's gonna bust them stitches. You know who's gonna take you right back in that car and crash right back into that wall. You know who's gonna let you walk off the ledge. You have to be willing to be solo for a season in order to heal. And you in the recovery room, baby, right now. You got brothers and sisters here. You got friends and family right here. And we want you to heal. We're going to slap your hand when you go to pick that scar. When you go to say, well, you know, I did this. No, we're not picking the scars and the wounds no more. That's not what we're doing. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Let it heal. Don't pick it. Don't pick at it. No, you're not going to pick the phone up and call the person that's going to tell you to go out and drink with them when they know you are alcoholic. We're not going with them people. There's people out there that don't want to see you live well. And I need you to understand, the most important thing I need you to understand is who is outside of the recovery room. So again, you can find me here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the New You Nation Network YouTube channel. You can email me. I'm Trey at TreyKearney.com. If you would like to be a guest on the recovery room and share your story, you can email me at info@TreyKearney.com and just simply put in the subject box guest. If you would like to work with me, you can go to www.TreyKearney.com. All my services are there. If you need prayer, shoot me a DM and I will pray for you. If I can't do nothing else for you, I'll pray for you. If you can't afford a coach, I'll pray for you for free. It is no charge for prayer. So I hope this was helpful for you. Again, you're tuned into the Recovery Room, a virtual hospital for the betrayed and brokenhearted. It's healing time. Hashtag is healing time, because each and every one of us deserves to heal. Each and every one of us deserves to be happy. And each and every one of us is a good person. People act like I'm crazy when I say that. We are all good people who have made some bad choices. We are all good people who just did not have decision-making skills. We are all good people who just didn't have the proper blueprint and foundation from childhood. There is goodness in all of us. And don't let nobody tell you, no matter what it is that you did, don't let nobody tell you you're going to be just like your father. Don't let nobody tell you you ain't never going to have nothing, never going to be nothing, never going to do nothing. Those are the people that you don't want outside of the recovery room during this process. Okay? Because we're on a healing journey right now. So I love you. Good night. I like to share my favorite scripture with you guys, my foundational scripture, Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, but you have to give him the pieces of your heart. You have to be able to forgive yourself. God has already redeemed you. God has already redeemed you. Let me tell you guys some words. Let me tell you the definition of redemption. The action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. The action of regaining or gaining possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing a debt. The debt has been cleared for us. The debt has been cleared for us. Here are some synonyms of redemption: forgiveness, salvation, restoration, regeneration, rebirth, grace, remission, clearance. God wants to know, how can I redeem you if you are the problem? How can I redeem you if you keep punishing yourself? It's not that you haven't been redeemed, saved, your debt has been paid. Is that you keep paying the price over and over and over and over again for something that has already been paid. Would you go to the supermarket and put the groceries in the cart, swipe them and pay for them, and take them back out the cart and swipe them and pay for the same groceries again? No. Would you go and get new tires on your car and pay for them and drive back 5 minutes later and say, take these tires off and put them back on and let me pay for them again? Would you do that? Would you pay the beautician to do your hair twice? Would you pay for something that you already paid for? And if somebody charged you twice and you looked at your receipt, you'll be like, you need to reimburse me. Okay, I got one shirt. You charged me for two. So why are you paying for something over and over again that has already been paid for you? Don't do it to yourself. And nobody can do it to you. And nobody can do it for you, because you have the authority over you. So I wish you well. And remember Psalm 147:3, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. You're tuned into the Recovery Room. I'm your healing agent. My name is Trey Kearney. I love you with the love of the Lord. Remember what I tell you at the end of all my broadcasts. You deserve the best. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve the best. Now go get it. Peace and blessings. And I will see you next week for the Recovery Room podcast.